Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here. So, I got a question on from Mario, and he says, "Hey, John, I've been checking out this cute girl in the train I normally take. Seems she is a little responsive. I know where she works. Is it too creepy that I go there eventually to try to make something up or not?" So, good question. Valid question. Um, Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Mario. So, I think I did a video, I can't remember, I did some video about being creepy or not being creepy or something like that on where someone was texting this girl, and I was talking about the difference between being creepy and not being creepy. And here's the general rule of thumb here, and I'll give you some specific advice in your situation. But you are creepy if you're not bold. So, so I want you to understand what this means, okay? So, creepy is when you're doing things on the sly, right? Think of creeping, like creeping is like sneaking up on someone. So it's doing things without being straightforward in your action. It doesn't mean you have to lay your cards on the table. It doesn't mean you have to be completely direct, okay? But what it means is that you have to, to be creepy, all you have to do is be hiding something, to be subversive in what you're trying to accomplish, and to have sort of a hidden motive or criteria that you are ashamed of in some way or embarrassed by, right? Typically, when you're uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, you're going to make someone else be uncomfortable, and it is going to come off more likely to be creepy, okay? To be bold is to take action. So you can have the very same types of actions. Remember, I think in that video, I was talking about like putting your arm around a girl or something versus like slowly brushing up against her, right? The difference or like making it seem like an accident, or like doing a yawn, and like that's creepy, right? Like, and you can just take that as an instance, right? You're in a movie theater, you do the whole oh, and then you do that, right? It might appear more creepy. Whereas if you're just like bold and you're just like, hey, and you just put your arm around and it's not a big deal, right? That's not creepy. That's bold. It's gonna put you out there a little bit more and have you taking the risk. So creepiness is where another way to define this. I mean, to define this a lot of ways so you guys understand this. Creepiness would be where you project the risk onto the girl instead of you taking the risk, right? When you put yourself out there, you take the risk. When you project or you buffer the risk, okay, then it becomes creepy. Another example here would be, the difference, a hot girl is walking by on the sidewalk, okay? So if you yell from across the street, "Yo, mama, oh, looking fine," or whatever you want to do. I don't know. I never have hollered at a girl like that. But if you do that, that's creepy. Okay? Why? You're not imposing any kind of personal risk, especially you got a bunch of friends and they're all hollering or whatever, right? You're not imposing any kind of personal risk. You're not going up and putting yourself out there. You're just yelling some stuff. Okay? It's going to come off as creepy or just pathetic, really, honestly. Whereas if you go up and you talk and you're like, "Hey, I just saw you. You look beautiful. I just want to say hello." It doesn't even matter. You don't even have to be direct. You just say, "Hey, I'm just out here on the street making some new friends. What's your name?" Right? It doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter what you say. It's just the fact of putting yourself out there boldly. Okay. Unapologetically, and just taking that risk upon yourself, because then if you get rejected, it is on you. Okay, now you're much less likely to get rejected in that case. All right, so let's get to your specific situation here, and now that we have that base underlying framework, so you might have an idea of how I would answer this. In fact, here's a quiz. Here's just for you guys listening and for you, Mario. I want you to kind of pause the video for a second. You can keep watching the video, but I want you to think about, what should Mario do? What should you do in this situation, right? What is the advice I'm about to give you based on that? Okay, I want you to think, what is John going to say next? Because I want you to do this exercise so you understand, because a lot of times what I will do myself, okay, is I will play forward certain things. Like, in fact, during my day, I imagine scenarios a lot of times like, oh, if I went up and talked to this person and said this, or, especially when I'm coaching guys and stuff, and I'm imagining what the scenario would look like in multiple scenarios, and I'm trying to predict what the outcome would be, or what the likely outcome would be, and I can kind of figure stuff out just by doing that. So I want you to do that right now and figure this out. Okay, so now I'm going to give you my answer. Mario, what you need to do in this case is not go to her workplace. That is creepy. Following her to her workplace, you need to be bold, okay? And so what's the bold action to do? The bold action, you say that this girl is showing some kind of interest, you're interested in this girl on the train, go and just talk to her on the train, right? Don't hesitate, don't start staring at her, don't try to just go up and talk to her. In fact, you want a really bold action. If there's an empty seat, go sit next to her and say, hey, how's it going? My name is Mario. And or whatever, it doesn't have to be that. Or you could just say, hey, I've been riding this train for a while. I've noticed you, and I just wanted to come over and say hi. How's your day going so far? Whatever you want to do. If you want to be a little bit more bold, you could be a little bit more bold than that. Okay, I'm not going to encourage you to do that because you might not be able to pull that off. See, here's the other thing too, is you have to be able to pull off what you're doing. Okay, so being bold but hiding behind it is not very sexy. It's not going to work very well. Okay, so just as from a success metric, if what you can do authentically and what you can unapologetically do, and you still be nervous, but if you can just go over and just introduce yourself or just say hi, if she's got some interest, that's fine. Okay, if you can pull off something more fantastic. I mean, I remember one time I actually jumped over a fence and was like, hey, and it's you don't have to stare, you can say hi to me, right? But I had it, I had the energy and the boldness to do that, so I could pull that off, right? Because it was unapologetic. I wasn't embarrassed to do that because it was just me, right? So don't try and do stuff that's gonna make you cower, okay, and make you creepy. So same thing here with the same principle, right? I would say not go to her workplace, obviously not do that, okay, but just confront her, just talk to her. Maybe she'll reject you, big deal, but you have to put yourself out there. This is the whole thing. And you're going to have to really have in your mindset a freedom from outcome. You're really going to have to say, hey, this is just some girl that I like. There's a lot of girls that I could potentially like. I'm going to just go and talk to this one on the train and just say hi. And whatever happens, so that you're not putting this outcome, because that will also it'll create pressure. And when you create that pressure, you create a creepy situation. So again, just to emphasize here and just to give you some more examples, you guys, is one technique that you can do as well that kind of alleviates the creepiness or reduces creepiness is to make it so that you're not creating pressure, right? So if I'm stopping someone or I'm talking to someone, I can do that in a way where I'm like, okay, this is called a false time constraint, actually, where I'm like, okay, I have to leave, I got to get going, but I just want to stop for a second and just say hi, I got to get going, whatever, so that they feel like they can leave, that you're going to leave, that you're not going to box them into a situation, right? So that's the kind of thing that you want to keep in mind here, right? Anytime that you're trying to force your agenda, it's going to come off as creepy. Anytime you're trying to hide your agenda and force your agenda. Okay, again, doesn't mean you lay all your cards on the table, doesn't mean you always take an absolute direct approach, but you indicate your intent, okay? So, and I'll say this as well, Mario, when you go and talk to this girl on the train, okay, you need to be clear in your intent. You don't have to say, I'm attracted to you. You don't have to say you're sexy. You don't have to say any of those things. You can, if you can pull it off. But in the eye contact and what you're indicating and the way that you're looking at her, you need to indicate that you are a man, that she's a woman, that you are attracted to her, and you're not embarrassed or afraid of your sexuality, or that you're attracted to her and that's why you're talking to her, because you want to make that clear from the beginning, that intent. Again, if you do not make that clear and then you switch over into that mode, it will become creepy as well, right? So you can be bold and you can do all this stuff, but if you try to go from, hey, I'm just your friend, to now I'm trying to sell you some shit, right? That's where you go into the creepy mode. You can think of the same thing, like a lot of human interaction relationships is dating type of this man-woman interaction is very similar to sales and marketing, right? Again, like if you went to a car lot and some guy was pretending like he's not selling you a car, just asking you all these questions, family questions, in fact, they do that sometimes, and just not saying anything about a car and just inviting you to dinner and being your friend, and then all of a sudden he's like, hey, now about that car, right? that's kind of weird, right? It's like you'd rather someone just be upfront and be like, hey, I'm trying to sell you a car. Like, I think you need to buy this car, and marketing it that way versus being real sneaky and like, suddenly you're like, whoa, I thought this guy was my friend. I mean, the car dealership maybe is not the best example, but just someone that you met that you thought was your friend. You thought they were interested in you, and then all of a sudden you find out they're a recruiter, or they've got some hidden agenda. It's not going to bode very well. But if they're upfront and direct and they're unapologetic about it, and they're like, hey, I really want to like recruit you for this, or I really want to sell you this thing, right? Like, that is a much better approach. So, all right, Mario, best of luck. It's going to take some balls to do this, but just fucking do it, man. All right. If you haven't subscribed already, click that subscribe button below. Click the bell so you don't miss any videos. I do 2 a day. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.